Right? Okay. Hey, think about this. Why are we hearing that? Talk to your shoulder partner. Why do you hear this? Why do you hear this?
Just like this is how it is. I mean, not this is why this is
Curious. What if I asked you to open up your Big ID notebooks, that next open page? What if creating a diagram could help us understand this? Because I love that diagrams can help us understand because they include pictures, they include words. We know that our brain works well when we have a picture and some words that work together because pictures really help us understand. Right, that's going to be our sense of sight, right? That's a really interesting connection. How do our eyes communicate what we understand to our brain? That's a very interesting study when you're thinking about that. Because what I see might be different from what you see. And if we see things differently, we're most likely understanding things differently. So that's an interesting thing to think about. So what I want to challenge you to do, I'd like you to think about creating a diagram of my chime. Okay? Of my chime. Because I'm curious. Thinking about what you've learned about sound, right? Thinking about what you learned about sound, I'm curious. Could you create a diagram that shows me how the sound gets from this, my chime, to my ears? Because when I do this, what should we call this? What do you think? Call it out. A what? A drumstick? What, any other ideas?
Ringer.
A ringer. A banger.
A banger.
Oh, banger. Banger.
A stick.
A stick. Let's go with something simple. A stick. Okay. So I use my stick to hit the metal pipes, which are closed. So think about your tube. Take a look at your tube. The tube that we used yesterday. The tube where you created, right? Your kazoo. Your tube is open or closed? Open, at least on one side most likely, right? These are closed. So I'm wondering first, does that affect me the sound? These are made of metal. What is your tube made of?
Cardboard.
Cardboard, right? So again, that's probably affecting the pitch, right? The kind of volume of sound we hear. But how does the sound get from me hitting the stick to my ears? So here's the challenge. Could you create a diagram of this? We'll call it my chime. Okay? Could you create a diagram of the chime in order to think about how the sound gets from the chime to my ear? So I'm just going to give you the words you might need. Here's the word chime, right? If I can spell a dime, I can spell chime. So chime, that is what I've been hitting, right? We said we're going to call this the stick, right? So here's the word stick. If I can spell pick, I can spell stick. So chime and stick are probably the two words that you need for your diagram. But what I'm really curious about is, how could you show me what you know about sound by creating a diagram of the chime? Because, hands up, we know that sound travels in waves, right? And in order for us to hear, a vibration has to occur, right? Do it with me. So I'll wait, so all hands are up, right? Sound travels in waves. And in order for us to hear that sound, there must be a vibration. And then that vibration is what is communicated to our ears, right? And what part of our ears?
Your eardrum.
Eardrum, right? You kind of go like this, right? Your ear drum, right? As if you had a little drum on your ears. Right? So it's communicating your eardrum, which bounces off and all that scientific stuff, right? But we know that it has to travel in waves. We have to hear the vibration in order for us to hear it. So here's your challenge, 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, can you create a diagram for me that shows me how sound gets from my metal chime to your ears? Grab a pencil, make sure you're on that next open page in your notebook. So check with your shoulder partner, please. Some of you are going to draw on a page that is like way in the back of the book. So check with your shoulder partner, make sure they're on the next open page. And 3 minutes, can you show me how sound travels from my chime to my ears? You're thinking about the chime. Here it is again. I heard someone say how many metal tubes kind of are there? There are 3. You know that scientists want to be precise in creating their sketch. They probably want to include all 3. So how does the sound get from my chime to my ears? If you're not quite sure, maybe just starting to sketch the chime would be a good start. Here are the words sound waves if you need them. Sound get from the chime to my ears. Remember that a diagram will have both a detailed picture, right? Scientists want to be very precise, add detail to their pictures, as well as labels, words, right? So that's why I put your key vocabulary up there. You probably want the word chime, you probably want the word stick, and most likely, if you're a scientist, you're using the word sound waves, because if you understand how that sound is traveling, somewhere you're showing me where those sound waves come in, because we know that sound travels in waves. Remember, if you need help, you're asking your shoulder partner, and then the face partner. If they can't help, I'll help you. Looking at your timer, you have 50 seconds left, so a little under a minute. So make sure that you have included the key vocabulary. The word chime. You should be able to touch the word chime on your paper and show me that it's there. You should be able to touch the word stick and show me that it's there. You really should be able to touch the words sound waves and show me that it's there, because that's a big part of how we're hearing that sound. That should be somewhere on your page. You might even have some arrows, right, or lines. Because maybe the word chime is far away from the actual drawing. Maybe your sound waves might look like this, because they're going all throughout. So make sure when I look at your diagram, I could understand it without you telling me a lot about it. Would you please exchange your notebook with your shoulder partner and see if they can understand it without you telling them anything? And then shoulder partners, if you're not sure, would you ask them, well, what does this part mean? Or what do you mean by this? So actually trade it. Yeah. If you have 3 people, you probably trade twice so you don't have your own. And take a look at it and see if it makes sense to you. So you're going to look at hers. He's going to look at, yeah, there you go. When I invite you down to the gathering spot, I would also invite you to bring your notebook. Okay, so keep it open. You might want to turn it so it's open to that page you just worked in. And of course, you'd be bringing a pencil as well. We'll see you stand up. We'll see you wait for your team, whether you're all high-fiving standing up, or you're all going to come up. Make sure everybody's ready. I only did this one for smart words. I think you just kind of read that style. It's so nice to see people coming down as teams. And something to think about, you could always get on the side. That might make sense, right? So that way you can see. So the reason I asked you to bring down your big idea notebook is to make sure that we are all in the same understanding about sound. Your hands are up because our big idea is communication. And we want it to do what? We want it to all across our day. And part of our day is thinking about sound. And how is sound communicated to us through the sound waves, right? And we need to have a vibration in order to hear the sound that eventually makes it to our eardrums. So far, looking at our understandings chart, in the beginning we had some initial beginning understandings. But now through our work, here are some of your new understandings in red. We know that sound travels in waves. We know that vibration is actually the sound we're hearing. We know that we have to have that vibration in order to actually hear something through our eardrums. We also learned that it's not so much your gums and your teeth that allow that sound to come out, but it's your, what? Vocal cords, right? The vocal cords inside of your neck area, your throat area. Your tongue does help to change the sound when air passes through, right? So when you say the letter O, say O, O. And you say the letter S, S. You can feel the change in what your mouth is doing, and that manipulates the sound. It also affects, and we didn't have this on here though, how much air escapes, right? If I were to yell really loud, like, ah, what does my mouth do? Do a quiet yell. Ah. What does your mouth do? There you go, it's big, right? Now, what if you were going to whisper? What if you whispered your name? My mouth isn't as wide, right? Same thing with some even letters. Your mouth is closed for some, open for others. And so the amount of air that passes through also affects the sound or the pitch or the volume of what we hear. So our mouth does play a role in it, but it's the vocal cords that are actually making the sound when the air passes through. I want to see if we can add any new understandings to what we understand about how sound is communicated to us through listening to this read aloud story. This is an informational text, kind of similar to what you're creating in Writing Workshop, all about sound. And as we listen and view this book, all about sound, I'd like to see you take some notes. So you could have that next open page in your notebook. That would work. And of course, it can be a backside page, right? So we're using either a front or back. So whatever that next open page is, that's what we'd see you using. So it's up to you how many notes you take. But by the end, I do want one new thing that you've learned about sound. It could even be something that's been confirmed for you. Like, oh yeah, we are right in thinking that. So it could be a sketch. It could be a diagram. It could be some words. But I'd love for you to have one new understanding from our mentor text, our read aloud, about sound. Okay, so if you have to turn your body so you can see the screen, that would make sense. If you're good, you're good.
Sound. Crash, boom, bam, bang, swoosh, and splash. Sounds are all around us. People, animals, and objects make sounds. Even the weather makes sound. Sounds can be loud or soft. They can be pleasant or unpleasant. Animals use sound in many ways.
Gosh, I have to stop us. I already am wondering something. And did you notice that we do have a column we haven't really used yet? What I wonder about sound? So I wonder, could we also document things that we're wondering as we're listening to this read aloud?
Yeah.
If it were me, I might even do this. I might even take my notebook page I'm working on and divide it in half. Maybe I'd make a double entry journal. Maybe on one side I'd have my exclamation point, because you can see I have it here too, don't I? Maybe on this side would be my exclamation point for new things that I'm learning. Maybe on the other side I would have a question mark for things that I'm wondering. That's what scientists do, right? They learn new things and they also keep wondering. So if you want to do that too, if you want to just draw a line right down the middle of your paper and put an exclamation point on one side for new things that you're learning, I would write the word new. And if you would like to put a question mark on the other side for things that you're wondering, go for it. And that way you have a place to record things that you're learning and questions that you have. Does that make sense? So you don't have to do that, but if you'd like to, that's how I'm going to note take, I think. Because I'm already wondering something about animals.
Ways. Humans use sound to communicate their thoughts and feelings. Other animals use sound to communicate too. They use sound to defend themselves, attract a mate, or signal a warning. Humans have invented many things to make sounds. Drums, bagpipes, and stringed instruments make music. Horns, bells, and sirens sound warnings or call people to events. Alarm clocks signal with music or loud beeps that it is time to get out of bed. What is sound? Sound is made when an object vibrates or moves back and forth very quickly. People make sound to talk when air vibrates vocal cords in their throats. Different vibrations in the vocal cords make different sounds. Try this. Feel the vibration. Get 2 rubber bands, one thick and one thin. A vibrating object makes the air around it move. This is how sound travels. It moves outward in all directions. For example, when a tree crashes to the ground, the air around it vibrates. When the vibrating air reaches your ear, you hear the sound of a crashing tree. The vibrating air is called sound waves. Sound waves also travel through solids and liquids.
I'll pause there. We're just going to listen to one more page, but I see some of you note-taking, and I want to give you a chance to take some notes. I'll share some things that I've been wondering as you're documenting, perhaps. I've been wondering, so I have my wonder column. I've been wondering, how do animals understand each other? I wonder, how does an elephant understand another elephant? And can, I don't know, a hedgehog understand what an elephant is saying and vice versa? Or can they only understand their own animal type? I'm curious about that. I'm also curious, what if people cannot talk or hear? What if they're born with a disability that hasn't allowed them to hear or to talk? How is how they understand different than someone who does have those opportunities? Some new learning that I have, sound moves outward in all directions. Try that. Sound moves outward in all directions. So I guess I knew that sound traveled in waves, but I didn't really think about that sound is traveling out in all directions. And so it's making me think about our tube, our kazoo that we've made, and I'm thinking, I wonder the fact that we have that tube that's directing the sound, does that influence the sound that we hear? We'll listen to one more page, see if we can find out anything else.
Different sound, Math Minute, ears and sound. The outside of your ear is shaped to collect sound waves. The sound waves move from outside the ear to inside the ear. Tiny bones inside vibrate when they are struck by sound waves. The vibrating bones send messages through nerves to your brain. Your brain then interprets the messages as noise, music, talking, or other sounds.
That's really interesting too. I put that down as my new learning. I never thought about the fact that our ears, the outside of our ear, is shaped to collect sound. I was thinking about the inside of the ear, and we have that ear model that shows the inside of the ear, but think about the shape of your ear. Feel the outside of your ear. And think about comparing your ear to perhaps an owl's ear. It's very, inward, it's inward, it's not outward like ours. And think about how they're right. Our ear is shaped to collect sound, because when you go like this, and create a cup around your ears, it even helps you to hear better, right? Say your name 3 times. Melissa, Melissa, Melissa. So cup your ears. Cup your ears and try it. Melissa, Melissa, Melissa. So you can see that they're right. It's helping to collect that sound, to collect the sound waves. So do you turn to that person next to you and show them something you recorded either for new learning or perhaps something you're wondering? Show them what you've done so far. really making me think, right? This is a page from the text that we just read, where it's talking about your ears, right, being shaped to collect sound. And I was really thinking about that when I hit the chime. I'm almost visualizing those sound waves coming off of the chime, right, hitting my eardrum, causing the vibration. And then think about that. See, this is really smart, because think about this. The text says that, and this was a really interesting piece for me, the vibrating bones send messages through nerves to your brain. So think about that. That's really full circle. So they're saying that when I do this, right, and maybe we can use our hands to show it. So when I do this, show me some sound waves. Sound waves are coming in all directions, right, to my ears, which hits the eardrum, causes a vibration in my eardrum, sending that sound message to my brain. What does that sound tell your brain? When I do that, what is it telling your brain? Call it out. What is it telling? Stop what you're doing, right? Or I need your attention. So think about this. This is really higher level thinking you're having right now. Let's do it. Ready? If I hit this, sound waves travel through the air, right? They hit my eardrum, right? Make a vibration. Sends a message to my brain that says, stop. When I do this, even with teachers, right? When I'm teaching teachers, teachers will stop because their brain knows that when I hear and then tells the brain, what do you think, Maria? Ooh, she's wondering something. How fast, up here, how fast do sound waves travel? How could we figure that out? They actually do have machines that measure it, right? But that would be something really interesting to research. What are you thinking?
How do animals communicate?
Ah, how do animals communicate? I was wondering that too. Anyone else wondering that? What else are you wondering? Call it out. Just call it out. Tell me, what are you wondering? Anyone, talk out loud. No one else is wondering anything? What are you thinking?
I wonder how
Ooh, so how is vibration loud? So kind of what determines how loud something is? So how is it loud or soft? I'm curious, could we answer that in some way right now? What's this made out of?
metal.
What's this made out of? What's this made out of? Ooh, what about this? So we just found out that with your question, how is it loud or soft? What determines it partially?
You're trying.
Bigger category. What it's made
Oh.
what it's made of, right? So it's material. So see how quickly you could answer as a scientist your good questions? Sometimes you can experiment right away. Sometimes your questions involve more research. One more, Lana?
How do animals understand people?
Ooh, so that's taking this question a little deeper, isn't it? So not just how do animals communicate, but how do animals communicate and understand humans?
Yeah.
That would be a very interesting research project too. So this is something that I want to challenge you to keep doing. Scientists always are wondering. Good thinkers are always questioning. We communicate with questions. Right? That'd be something we could add. One way we communicate is by asking questions, by researching. So going back to our essential learning that we've just come across, when you think about the part that I've underlined, would you read it with me if you can? The vibrating bones send messages through nerves to your brain. Let's do that one more time. I like that phrasing you're using. Notice you're reading phrases with me. The vibrating bones send messages through nerves to your brain. Try it one more time. I love that. And even if we were working on the fluency, this is me being a teacher a little right now, but the vibrating bones, see that's your first phrase. The vibrating bones send messages through nerves to your brain. See how that helps you sound really fluent? Do it one more time with me. The vibrating bones send messages through nerves to your brain. See how reading in phrases really helps you sound fluent? So here's my challenge for us. Thinking that in reality this is really one of our essential understandings. If we go back to the kazoo that you made, could we use the kazoo to help you use that kazoo as a tool to send a message to another classmate, your shoulder partner, from one side of the room to the other? Could you use the kazoo that you created to send a message to your shoulder partner from one side of the room to the other? Here's the kicker, without yelling. Because I could easily, see, Henry, would you go to the other side of the room for me and I'll stand here? Would you go all the way over by your alphabet? Can you get there quick? All the way over there. All the way over, all the way over, all the way, over by the W.
What W? A W?
That W, yeah, the watermelon. Yep. So, what if Henry was my shoulder partner? I'll turn off my microphone. What if Henry was my shoulder partner? And it was our challenge to communicate from across the room, but we can't yell at each other. What if I wanted to tell Henry, what's a message I want to tell him? What if I want to tell him happy birthday? How could I communicate that without yelling? I could say, happy birthday! But that's not really appropriate, right? Quick chat with that person next to you. How could I do it? What can we do quick? You should be to your next open page of your notebook, and you should be sitting with your shoulder partner. Maybe you want to go sit somewhere else around the room, okay? But grab that shoulder partner. You want to grab your kazoo, right? And your notebook, so you can grab some ideas, because you want to have a plan first, right? You can write out the plan. You can use a pencil for that, okay? So if you want to move somewhere else with your shoulder partner, sit somewhere else in the room. So if you want to move somewhere else around the room, you need 10. 9, 8, if you're moving, you should be moving in 7. If you're moving,
Elijah.
6. If you're moving, you should be moving 5. And 4. And 3. And 2. And 1. So, setting the timer for 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to do some planning, okay? 10 minutes to plan with your shoulder partner. It might mean 3 people, right? So if you have 3 people, make sure 3 people are together, okay? How will you communicate from one side of the room to the other? 10 minutes to plan.
Touch it right here. Touch it right here. Yes, I can do
5 minutes remaining, how are you actually going to accomplish the task? Because some of you, I hope, are making all those noises to think about something like a code. Think about this. How can something like this help you think about your kazoo? Could those different tappings represent a code that means something between you and your partner? Could a certain sound mean something between you and your partner? So if I make a loud humming, could that mean something? If I make a short hum, could that mean something? Because in 5 minutes, you literally will have one partner on one side, one partner on the other, and we're going to be watching you. We'll ask a few partners to do this in front of us for the class. We will all sit in the gathering spot. We'll say one partner go to one side, one partner go to the other, and show us what you've done. So if you don't have a plan, you might feel quite silly, right? So make sure you're actually developing a plan right now, as well as enjoying your kazoo. When I'm looking at some of the teams have their notebooks out. They're actually creating a plan. I can look at their notebooks and see they have a plan started. They've been talking. So make sure that you can look at your notebook and say, yep, this is our plan, because in 5 minutes, we might be the team showing the class what we're doing. Okay. Keep on working, scientists.
Tell me your plan? You guys want to tell me your plan? Do you have a plan yet?
Yeah, make something like that.
Something like that? What is that?
I don't know. Then why do you draw it? I don't know, kind of. So we're just gonna.
So that's a kazoo. And that's a kazoo, right?
Yes, that.
So how are you going to get the message across?
The sound is that.
The sound.
Hear it.
Right.
At the kazoo.
Well, it's just going to be a random sound, so what are you going to do to make it sound like happy birthday? Or let them know that it's happy birthday?
Yeah, at the park. That's simple. Yeah, there's some girls or what's that?
So when you have the thing across the room, what are you going to say? Or what are you going to...
I don't know.
You don't know yet?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can say like, what? Maybe we can say oh, pirates. Yeah, good idea.
What are you going to say?
Pirate ship.
Pirate ships?
Yeah.
What's that?
Because at the pirates,
Yeah?
of the pirates, like the captains, or and something like the boat, the captain.
Right.
Yeah.
So how is the other person going to know you're saying happy birthday?
Because we're saying pirates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
have a plan?
Yeah.
You want to tell me your plan?
We have two plans.
Go ahead.
We're either gonna talk like regular words, or we're gonna make a secret code.
Okay, for happy birthday?
For anyone.
For anyone? Oh, any word? So, let me hear what you're going to do with your kazoo. That's cool. So you think it's going to work or no? You think it's going to work? Yeah? You think it's going to work? Yeah? Alright, thanks guys. You guys have a plan?
Yeah.
Can I hear it?
Come here. If all the groups could group up together in all their teams,
Yeah.
and then we could all talk to each other and all in one group. Then we ground up together, and then we can all talk to each other with our kazoos.
Okay. So what are you going to say to make them know that you're saying happy birthday?
We can use our kazoos and say happy birthday with our kazoos.
Okay, that's a good idea.
We can't do that plan though because we all got to stay in one group. Because our team has to go in a boy pile, and all the boys go in the girls, and all the girls go in the girls, and all the boys go in the boys, and
So if you would just hold your kazoos for a moment. Our timer is about to go off in about a minute. This is what I would like to see. I would like to see you back at your team table, sitting next to your shoulder partner who you're working with, and just talking about the fact that in a moment you might be called up to show us what you planned. So now I just want to see you talking with your partner to make sure that you know what you're actually doing. I will not hear a single kazoo. I'll repeat this. I will not hear a kazoo. I will see you talking with your shoulder partner to make sure that you know what you're going to do if and when your team is called up. And this is where your blueprint is useful. This is where that draft of a plan is something important to have so that we can say, yep, here's step one, or here's what you'll do, here's what I'll do. Okay, so you have a minute to sit with that shoulder partner and go over your plan.
talk about it.
Gathering spot. This is what I will see you bring. I'll see you bring only your notebook. I will not see you bring a pencil. I will not see you bring a kazoo. I will only see you bring your notebook, so that way if you're one of the teams chosen, you can show us what your plan is under the document camera, and then you'll go to your desk and get your kazoo so that you can show us. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So would you please come down with your team? Make sure you have the whole team. So wait, some of you are walking and you have yet to check if your team is ready.
Ready?
So come down with your team, please.
Ready? Ready? Ready?
We'll see you seated in 5. Only if you're chosen. All right. So certainly this is something new. And certainly we know that when you are innovating, when you're creating something new, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. All right? That's part of being a scientist. Scientists know that for sure. That sometimes when they're testing new things, it works, and sometimes it doesn't. The important thing is that you learn if it doesn't work. Sometimes when it doesn't work, you get the most important learning. So if we call you up and ask you to share, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, great. Because then you can say to yourself, well, what went wrong? And what can I fix so that if I get to do this tomorrow, we really can hear each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So right from the start, we want to know that. Put your hands together. We want you to know that as a class, we are going to stick together and we're going to support you. So if you are some of the brave ones chosen to come up and show us your good way of communicating with your kazoo, know that we're going to stick together with you, and if it works, we'll go like this. Clap with me. And if it doesn't work, we'll go like this. Clap with me. Right? Because the big thing is that you had the bravery to get up and try something like a scientist would, not really knowing if it's going to work or not. Okay? Would you please high five your teammates and say, good work? All right. I'll first ask for a team to volunteer. And when you volunteer, you do have to have a plan. So if no one on your team has something on your notebook, I'll ask you don't volunteer right now because we do want to be able to see something on the screen. So is there any team that would like to volunteer? Can I start with you guys? Okay. Would you put one of your plans underneath the document camera? And then we'll watch as they go to get their kazoos at their desk. So one of you put it under, whoever has the most detailed explanation. So just one team. Yep, so you guys will go first. If you guys want to go next, you can, but they're going to go first. You're not all together, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay, cool. Just the two of you are, right? Yep.
Yeah.
So go grab your kazoo. Let's see. So Henry, you guys can sit down right now because it's not your turn yet. All right, so let's take a look at their plan. Okay, while they're getting the materials ready. So we're going to see them. One of them go here. I see. One's going to go over there. Okay. All right. Now I'm not sure what their plan is from here, so let's take a look at what they're going to do. Okay. Go for it.
Hello, Madison. Hello, Xander.
Want to do it one more time?
Hello, Madison. Hello, Xander.
Now notice, what end of the tube are they talking through? Do it one more time, Xander.
Hello, hello, Xander.
So they talked out of not the open end, but closed end. Now why did you guys choose to do that?
Because it sounded a little louder that way so we could hear each other.
Is that what you were thinking, Madison? And I think think it was Madison said it kind of sounds like a microphone? Yeah. All right, let's give them a clap. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you. So whoever's know what that is? All right. I think Henry might want to wait. Henry, do you want to do it? Okay, you can wait then. Carrie, honey, you have to have your partner.
R-S-H-Y.
We can wait. Okay, what other team? Rhea, would your team want to do? No, that's not what we'll see. All right, Rhea's going to put her plan up there. We'll take a look at it while they get their materials. Are you with that team, Marcia? Is that part of your team? You should probably get your kazoo, right? All right, oh, it's pretty detailed. Let's take a look. She has her kazoo there. And I even see some sound words. Do you guys see that? She's using some of her sensory words, the teet, 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 and the ee. All right, whenever you're ready, let's see it.
Hello, Rhea. Hi. Hello, Rhea. Hello, Karen. Hello, Rhea. No.
Now tell us, I'm going to interrupt you. Tell us what the different sounds mean.
Well, E means emergency, and T means like this, and means how do you do it, and means like headache.
So they have different sounds meaning different things. They had an emergency sound, a how are you doing, a how do you do it. Give them a clap. Thank you. We have one more group that would be willing to go today. Remember, you have to have a plan, all right? So if you're going to go up there, your whole team has to have the plan. Would you guys like to go? Would you like to come? All right. Okay, so let's take a look at their plan while they get their material. Oh, that's kind of, we can't hear you. So the sound waves, so when you see in his diagram, he has those sound waves coming up and bouncing to her. All right, grab your tube and show us. So leave that there. All right, go for it. All right, go for it.
What? I said do it. There you go. You're supposed to say pirate fit. Pirate.
And we're supporting you, right? Yeah, we're supporting you. And maybe it would help to say it a little louder.
Pirate. Pirate fit.
Just see how that helped? Hold on. Here, show it. Here, come back over here. See how that helped though? Notice the design, right? So notice that what they've done is they have the entire piece covered. And see how you're going to hear a better sound with that? So what they might need to fix for next time is the pitch or the volume. Because remember in our read aloud this morning it said that the volume or the pitch determines how loud, right? How loud your eardrum hears it. And so by covering, notice how it's like a microphone. Think about when someone's testing a microphone, what do? They say test, 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 test. So even covering this, that's smart because you knew that by covering it, it was going to amplify the sound. Okay? Give them a clap. Thank you for being brave. So we don't have time for everyone to give it a try, but I'm sure that tomorrow there might be some time where you could try, right? I'm sure that if you talk to Mrs. Plum, there'll be some time tomorrow where you could give it a try, right? Maybe even during the, isn't it go down here? That may be a fun way to communicate messages. So something I want you to think about, take a look at your diagram, your plan that you've made for your team. And one thing to think about, with the diagram is it detailed enough? Is it specific enough so that if I took up your notebook and I was trying to learn how to make a sound across one side to the other using a kazoo, I would hope that your diagram would help me. So sometimes a diagram has to come with something else you've been learning about, which is the how-to, right? So what a great example of a how-to book this could be, combining your diagram with the steps of how to not only make a kazoo, but how to communicate across the room with that kazoo, and you could share the book with someone else. So what a fun thing to do during work on writing time. If you have a chance to make your own book, you could make a how-to make a kazoo communicate from one side of the room to another. Would you give yourself a clap because this is brave work? And head back to your seat for one last thing. So one other thing to think about with your kazoo, remember that the read aloud today referenced musical instruments, and it talks about how people have created different musical instruments throughout history to communicate a message through song. Songs are another way that we communicate a message. That's another thing that could go on our communication big idea board. Songs carry a message with them. They make you feel something, right? Some songs can make you want to cry. Some songs can make you really happy, you want to dance. Other songs can make you very calm. So music is one way that we communicate a message. But think about instruments. If this were your kazoo, what would happen if you poked holes in the top of the kazoo similar to something like a flute? Pretend you're holding a flute or a trumpet. Think about, what would you be doing with your fingers? They'd be what?
Moving.
They'd be moving, right? Either they'd be pushing down buttons, or if it were a flute, they'd be holding certain buttons or certain holes covered, right? So a certain sound would come out. But your fingers would be doing something. So what if you poked holes in the top of your kazoo? How would that change the sound? Have a quick conversation with your shoulder partner. How do you think it would change it? So Cameron, do you want to talk? Matthew's on working as scientists, and I want to show you a strategy that might help. Some of you have your scissors out right now, okay? And we were just chatting, Connor and I, because I saw he had his scissors out, and I said, well, what way would make sense? Because when you think about scissors, it's kind of like holding a knife, right? This is why a classroom needs a workbench, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you had a workbench and we had the real tools to do this? How fun is that? But we have these tools, right? Scissor and pencil. And so first we said, well, the scissors, right? But it kind of got sharp on our fingers. And I said, well, what would happen if you just poked it with a pencil? And you guys have nice sturdy pencils. And so it really helped that we actually just used his pencil. So if you take a look at this hole we made, it's a really nice hole. Okay, look at that nice sized hole. And we didn't do it with scissors, because the scissors actually would give you a less exact hole, right? You want something that's going to be pretty precise. And so we just held it steady with his hand, and then decided where we wanted the hole, and just pushed it right through. Do you mind if I do one more? Is that okay with you? Okay. Where would you like it? Close together or far apart? Okay. So So if he were going to do another one, he'd probably pick a spot, so I'm holding it sturdy. And notice I have to change my hand. My hand has to go into a fist in order to push it through. And look what a nice hole we get, okay? So that's a strategy I'd like to see you use when creating your holes if you're going to do it. You have to use some strength, and I'd probably stand up because think about force, right? The more force you have coming down, the better you'll be able to make it. So one sturdy hand, and then one hand that has the force of gravity pushing down on it. I'll turn the lights on so you can see. So remember, my hand was like a fist, right? And I was holding it very steady. Got it? I just want to read the last few pages of the listing walk because I hope that as you go out into the world and interact with others, that you're thinking about how you communicate and how the world communicates with you. Because now that you're aware of how sound travels to your ears, we also want to start thinking about what do we see in the world. You could take a listening walk, but you could also take a looking walk, an observation walk, and ask yourself, what do I see? And why do I see it? And perhaps, why can my cat see at night and I can't? Why is this one color, but this side another? Do things look the same in the light and the dark? So as a scientist now, we always want you to keep thinking about why things are the way they are, how you could figure out the reason behind it. It is fun to go on a listing walk. You do not have to go far. You can walk around the block and listen. You can walk around your yard and listen. You do not even have to take a walk to hear sounds. There are sounds everywhere all the time. All you have to do is keep still and listen to them. So I have a challenge for you. I'm curious. Next time you go outside, I'm curious if you took your kazoo out, would it sound the same as if it did inside? Right now there are sounds you can hear. When you finish this page, close the book and listen. How many different sounds can you hear right now? Close your book and count them. Let's just try that. Close your eyes and listen. Tell the person next to you what you heard.
I hear beautiful. I heard a lady.
And your hands are up. Something that we could continue to investigate if we had time would be to ask such questions as, why can we hear some sounds through the wall? Why can't we hear others? Why can we hear the heater? Why don't we hear other sounds elsewhere? But we know that sound travels in waves. And in order for us to hear the sound, we have to have a vibration that vibrates inside our eardrum and allows that message to go to our brain that tells us something, that shares a message. So my challenge for you is next time you go outside, do some tests. See if you can hear the same things inside that you can hear outside. Is it as loud? Is it as soft? What kind of sounds do your feet make when they crunch in the snow? What kind of sounds do animals make? And do they have windpipes? Aren't you wondering that? They have windpipes. They have the same kind of sounds that we have. So keep wondering. Just because we're saying that we are moving away from the idea of sound doesn't mean you can't keep questioning and asking yourself the question why. And asking that thing that scientists ask, prove it.